July 6, 2001 began like every other normal day. Parents getting up for work and kissing their kids goodbye. Kids getting ready for school or heading off to daycare. Everyday people living everyday lives. But for a small family in Chicago, this day was about to change their lives forever. This is the bizarre case of the Bradley sisters.
Good afternoon, I'm Antonio Moore.
And I'm Diane Burns. Now, there are no suspects, no new leads, and no clues to where Tianda and Diamond Bradley might be.
Tracy Bradley was a single mother who lived with her 4 daughters in Southside Chicago. Single mom lived in an apartment on 35th Street in Cottage Grove Avenue. She worked at the nearby Robert Taylor homes, serving breakfast and lunch to kids who were attending summer school. Her 4 daughters, Rita, Tianda, Victoria, and Diamond, all lived at home with her. The day before, Tracy had dropped off Rita and Victoria at their grandmother's. Rita was having a birthday the next day. She had opted to leave Tianda and Diamond at home because Diamond's father, who also happened to be her on and off lover George, wanted to take the girls camping. So on that fateful morning, Tracy got ready for work and kissed her girls goodbye. But before leaving the apartment, she gave them a stern warning not to open the door for anyone. Between the hours of 8 and 9 a.m., Tracy would place several calls back to the apartment but got no response. As time went on, Tracy began to feel uneasy. So at about 11 a.m., she placed a call back to George and asked him to come get her. On arriving at her apartment, Tracy found it to be empty. She raced around the apartment calling out for her daughters, but was met with silence. Upon searching the apartment, Tracy found a note. It was written in Tianda's handwriting, and it simply said that the pair had gone down to the store and the nearby playground. So Tracy raced down to the store and made inquiries about her daughters, but no one had seen the girls. She got the same answer at the playground. This was becoming something really sinister. Soon after, neighbors and family members all got involved, and after hours and hours of searching for the girls with no result, it was time to call the police. The police case for Tianda and Diamond became one of the largest in Chicago history. As the cameras around the apartment were not working at the time, the police couldn't find direct footage of the girls leaving the apartment. So police officers and volunteers all combed through railway stations, abandoned buildings, and even factories, but the girls were never found. Over 100 sex offenders in the environs were interviewed. About 50 family members were called into the police station and also interviewed. Tracy was interviewed for over 50 hours, but despite these efforts, nothing.
It's kind of hard. It's very hard.
The very next day, Tracy's sister would allege to find a voicemail on Tracy's phone. It was supposedly from Tianda and it said, "Mommy, George is at the door with the cake. Should I let him in?" But Tracy never confirmed that she got a voicemail from Tianda. And if so, this would be the last line of communication between the girls and their family. One of the very first people suspected by the police was Diamond's father, George. See, George was already in a terrible custody battle with Tracy, and he had been the one who had proposed the family camping trip in the very first place. When searching his apartment, the police will find receipts for gardening gloves, contractor bags, and cleaning products. But George had an excuse for this. Also, his alibi for the time of the disappearance was that he was on the phone with his sister, but no such recordings were ever found. The very next day, July 7th, one of George's neighbors would tell the police that they had seen him burning things in a barrel and driven off with the barrel in a truck. But George had returned without the barrel. Tienda's hairs were also found in a blanket in George's trunk. But his excuse for this was that he had snuck the girls to see a movie. All of this was still not enough for the police to bring charges on George. Going by the alert voicemail, Tienda had said, "Mommy, George is at the door. Should I let him in?" You see, Tracy had a neighbor called George who would babysit the girls sometimes. But he was simply ruled out because the girls always called him by a nickname. And it would have been so strange for Tienda to refer to him as George. So the possibility of the neighbor was highly unlikely. One of the thought suspects was Tienda's father, or alleged father. You see, it was rumored that Tracy had been scamming a man out of the US for over a year, claiming that he was Tienda's father. And the man later discovered it was all a lie when a DNA test was conducted. But this is also highly unlikely, because it would have meant that he would have had to travel all the way to the US to kidnap the girls. And so, this theory was squashed. One of the most surprising suspects in all this was Tracy herself. You see, pretty soon, people began to ask questions. Why did it take her over 6 hours to make a report at the police station? It was also alleged that Tracy had borrowed money from a neighbor to go shopping before heading out to find her daughters. Tracy had initially told the police that she spent the night at her apartment. But when confronted with phone records, it was obvious that this was a lie. You see, Tracy had not even seen the girls up to 12 hours before their disappearance. After this, Tracy stopped cooperating with the police. She avoided the neighbors and changed her number. Pretty soon, she moved out of the apartment complex altogether. Tracy's excuse for all this was that she never wanted CPS to come get her other kids, and that she never wanted the world to judge her as an absent mother. And so, this case has remained a cold case since 2001. In 2023, a woman on TikTok claimed to be Diamond Bradley. She claimed that the FBI had told her that she had been living on a false identity all her life. But this turned out to be untrue. And so, every year, on the remembrance of their disappearance, the Bradley family come together and remind the world that their daughters have not been brought back home. And Tracy Bradley celebrates her daughters every year, making sure that their memories are never forgotten.
My kids that has been missing, for 4 years, and it's kind of hard. It's very hard.
And so for now, the story of Tienda and Diamond Bradley remains a mystery. This is the monster under the bed.